Hello, everyone. I pray you're doing well. I just came on to encourage you all today. The other week, Ellis again, so we can do this a lesson from a 6-year-old again, but he had a book in his class that they were going over called The Empty Pot by Demi. And some of y'all may recall this book. But in this book, it's an emperor, and it's an emperor that is getting older, and he loves flowers, he loves plants, he loves nature, he just loves all of it. But he knows that he's getting older and he needs a successor. So he decides to let the flowers decide who his successors are going to be. And he calls all the children to the palace, the children in the village, in the kingdom to the palace, and he presents them with a seed, and he tells them that he wants to see their best after a year. And so the kids, they run off with their seeds. They're, excited about the, chance to be emperor, right? To be a successor. And so the story zooms in on Ping, one of the children. He takes the seed and he's excited, and he plants the seed in some good soil in a pot, and he waters it, and nothing happens. And so he decides, okay, let's change it. So he changes, he gets a bigger pot, he gets richer soil, he puts the seed in there, and he waters it. Months are passing, time is progressing. And then at the end of the year, this little boy, he's put all this time and effort trying to get this flower to grow. And at the end of the year, when it's time to present it to the emperor, he has nothing other than an empty pot. And so when the children are all, everybody's getting ready to go present to the emperor. All these children have all these beautiful flowers. And one of the boys, he comes past him with this big, beautiful flower, and he says, "Are you going to present that to the emperor?" And like, couldn't you do better? And then Ping was like, "I've done better. I've had made, planted and grown flowers that have been better than the one you have right now. But it's just the seed wouldn't grow." And so then his dad encourages Ping to, give the emperor your best, which is that. And so he goes and he stands there before the emperor with all the other children. And as the emperor goes and is looking at all these beautiful flowers, and he's not excited about any of it. He's actually disappointed. And then he gets to Ping, and then he sees Ping's empty pot. He asks him, why are you presenting me with this empty pot? And Ping just explains, it's like, I've done all I could, but this seed, it just wouldn't grow. And so then the emperor makes this proclamation or this statement that I don't know where all of you got these seeds from, because the seeds that I gave you, I cooked. And so then we see the dishonesty of the children or the family, because they shouldn't have been able to get what they got from the seeds that he provided. And then, but Ping, he awards Ping to be his successor. And this story has so much value in it, right? It has so much content when we think about it, and in the sense of what God gives us in our lives. And earlier this summer, we were talking about the seed, that God gives us provision. He gives us things in our lives to make an abundant life, to be fruitful. And in this case, we see that God gave not Ping, but the emperor gave Ping a seed, and God can give us seeds in our lives. And he honestly knows that nothing's going to come of it. He knows that flower is not going to bloom. But what he wants to see is, in the face of that seed not blooming, what kind of character do we have? Because even though we may not get fruit from the seed that's been provided, we do get blessings from our God. Because we see that even though Ping did not get that flower, he was blessed to reign. And so even with us, God wants us not to only be so caught up on trying to produce in ways that he didn't even give us tools to produce, because these children were making things happen in ways that God didn't even give them the means to make things happen. So if we stay in the provision of our God, and we stay with what he has given us to bring forth an abundant life, to bring forth flowers and things in our lives, even when they don't work out, do know that he has a plan to bless you. And he had a plan to bless that person who would have not, stayed truthful and stayed in what he gave them. And he gave them the opportunity. He gave Ping the opportunity to reign. And it's the same with us as God's children. He gives us things, and we have situations, we have relationships, we have goals, and all these things in our lives, and they're seeds. They're things that we want to bring forth fruit with. We're going to have beautiful flowers from. And the thing with Ping, if you remember, Ping was like, I've done this before. And so even in our lives, you can be like, I've done this before. I've created something that was beautiful from this. I've had this conversation and it's ended differently. I've had this, I went for a project and it was successful. Why isn't it working now? And we can feel like that in life. Why not? Why isn't it working now? And the truth of the matter is, it wasn't meant to work. Yes, it was in your life. It was in your life for a reason. And not was it in your life to produce something, but it was in your life so you could see your character. You could establish who you were in that particular situation. Were you going to use the things that God gave you, or were you going to begin to use other means to just what that means to an end mentality? You're just trying to get to that end point. And God wants us to not just try to get to an end point in our lives. He wants us to actually consider what we're using. And he wants us to use the things that he has given us. And even if those things don't pan out as we have expected, we know that there's a God who does bless us, is a God who is there to provide provision for us. And as we see, he wants to get us to the place where we will reign with him. So be okay with your empty pot. If this is an empty pot season for you, if that seed or that thing that you've been faced with, be okay with that empty pot. Just do as Ping did. Continue to be faithful in all the things that you're doing. Continue to try to cultivate things in your life, because the principle is not necessarily always the end point. But as we said, we're talking about that character, that faithfulness, that integrity that Ping had in the story. God wants that for us to have those things in our lives, that integrity and faithfulness. And so, again, God does give us seeds. They don't always produce like we want them to produce, but do know that we have a God in heaven who is faithful. And so even if you're up there and you're holding your empty pot, know that God is ready and willing and preparing for you to reign with him. You just be faithful and you keep your integrity. I pray that this has blessed you and that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.